La Artisteada, the space for global culture shapers. Today is a very special episode. We are here with Jenn Torres, fashion and beauty content creator whose career has skyrocketed in the last few years. She started with modeling with Bella Dona and has now worked with Footlocker, Fenty Beauty, and has done international campaigns with Garnier, and also just recently she represented Adidas at Coachella. What a career! I am also super excited, and I said this was a very special episode because I was looking back in the memory lane, and Jenn was actually my very first podcast guest in my previous pandemic iteration of my first podcast. So I'm so excited to have you back, and also seeing all of your trajectory, like all the things that you have achieved since then. So tell us, how are you?
Thank you so much, Amiga.
Simple question.
What a cute intro. Thank you so much. I was actually thinking about it. Our last podcast that we did together, when you interviewed me, this was like, woo! It was during the pandemic because we were still doing Zoom and stuff. And it's been so crazy.
Yeah, it's truly, I continue to follow you, obviously. And I'm like, wow, your career really has skyrocketed. And I love to see that. But, you know, for those who may not know you, you are from LA.
Yes.
You grew up here. How does, you know, you have such a great fashion style. So let's talk about that. How does your city influence your fashion style?
Yeah, so for me, growing up, so I'm from South Central. I grew up in Watts, and I literally grew up in Watts, and then literally the next street after that is Compton. So I grew up like in the middle cusp of like that area. And for me, we didn't grow up with like a lot of money. My parents are from Zacatecas, Mexico. They came here in the 80s, 90s. And I remember growing up and looking at like VHS videos of them like having like parties and then just dressing up super cool. Like my mom with her little like jackets that have like the leather and the fringe and like the mini skirts, and my dad was like his sombrero and like his tejana and like his button ups and his botas. And for me, I always thought that was so cool. Like I was like I love that. And growing up, obviously we didn't have a lot of money, so I always was a big lover of fashion. You know, fashion was such a big thing. Every Sunday, we grew up Catholic, so every Sunday we had to dress up really nice. My mom would like go to Callejones, get the best deals ever, put me in the biggest like lace frilly dress, have my hair all with all the moños and things like that. And so I guess that's kind of where it started. Like my love for fashion was just like my culture, my mom, even like my religion, like going to church every Sunday, having to dress up. And as I got older, I grew up really falling into like the whole like Tumblr scene and things like that, where that now the internet and social media kind of starts to get involved with like my fashion choices. And I was like, I want everything, but obviously like I was broke, so I was like, I don't know, I want to look like this, but how can I achieve it? And me and my dad, we actually used to like sell stuff at the tianguis. Like we used to like sell t-shirts, and like every Sunday, every Saturday, we'll wake up like at 4 a.m, set up a spot, and we would just be selling. And then he'll give me like $20 for the day and he'll just like go around, walk around, and I would find like shoes or like shirts, dresses that kind of matched what all the other people were like wearing.
How old were you when this was happening?
At this time, when I was selling with my dad, I was in middle school. No, I wasn't in middle school. I was in high school.
Okay.
I was a sophomore and a junior because I remember like prom and that. So yeah, I was like in high school. I was like a hustler, learning a lot from my dad. I grew up going to like the swap meets, and I just started like figuring things out. So I started thrifting before thrifting was cool and gentrified, and now thrifting is so expensive. But yeah, my style has always been a mix of like all of that. And as I got older, when it comes to like putting out an outfit, I always like want to tell a story now, because I feel like fashion and style is art. I feel like people that really take fashion seriously, like they tell a story, right? And for me, like for example, like I could break down my outfit right now, right? I'm wearing these Street Grandma jeans that are from my friend's brand, and what I really love about them is that it's sustainable. They use like dead stock material, and like they're
What's that?
Dead stock material is basically material that is no longer like kind of like scraps in a way.
Okay.
So like there's no, it kind of like, the whole thing about fashion right now is that like fashion kind of also like is a part of like pollution and things like that. So with sustainable materials, they make sure, like in dead stock materials, that kind of stops throwing away scraps and like using them and like, you know, making an outfit from that. If that makes sense.
So like
Reusing, yeah, exactly. And for me, I'm also wearing this like shirt that I got from the thrift store. It is, I don't even know what it's called, but it's a photo production shirt. So
yeah, I know.
Whoever I'm wearing, hey.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. I'm just kidding. And then my hat is from is a Zacatecas hat. I actually got this at the Plaza Mexico swap meet that I go to all the time. So.
Well, it's so interesting that you talk about that, about thrifting, you representing this. I remember this one friend, she was once wearing this like jean jacket and it was so cute and it had like this big Alberto's tacos thing in the back.
I love that.
And like our friend, like another friend was like, oh my gosh, your sweater's so cool, like where did you get it? She was like, oh, thrifting.
Yeah.
And she was like, I don't know whose Alberto's tacos are, but you know, they're making its way in Tijuana.
I love that. Honestly, I want to see a photo of it because I feel like it's pretty hard, I bet.
Yeah, and it's an interesting thing, you know, just talking about pants, like you're reusing things and, you know, you don't know where these clothes are going to end up.
Yeah.
But okay, I want to now go back because I
know I did go
right now.
I did go a lot. I hope that made sense. I ramble a lot.
No. It made total sense. You told the story. But I want to go back to you being younger, you loving fashion. Back then, there wasn't a content creator job.
Yeah.
And so what did you aspire to become when you were growing up? And like, was it something in fashion or was that not like in the plans?
Yeah, I think for me, I always had a dream of wanting to be like a fashion designer. Like I always loved the idea of like making clothes. I remember my mom actually bought me like a sewing kit or a sewing machine for Christmas. But then once I started doing it, once I started taking classes and learning, I was like, maybe this is not my journey. And I was like, what? I know that I want to be a part of the fashion world. I know like it's something in me that always draws me back to it, right? And for me, I grew up watching like all the telenovelas. I also grew up watching like Gossip Girl, you know. They had amazing like fashion, you know, like media was such a big part of like my life. And I remember in high school, I had like a Teen Vogue subscription that I would like wait once a month to get. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Which honestly, I kind of miss magazines now. I miss having like a physical thing. So my goal was just to be in the fashion world somehow. And I remember just being very proud of all the outfits that I would like put on. And at that time in high school, Instagram had just started. So I would just take kind of photos of my outfits. I really didn't think much of it. I was just like, you know what, whatever. And I remember my first photo, I got like 200 likes, which was like really big back then.
That was huge.
I was in high school, so this was I graduated 2014. So this was 2013, 2014. So my first 200 like photo, I was like, oh my God.
That's really an achievement. I remember I got excited for like 13 likes because I was like, the people are looking at me like, I'm famous.
But that's kind of how it started, where I was like, I know my style, my fashion, my photos, like it has something, right? They're important, right? People are obviously looking at it, but also for me, like it makes me feel good. And all my outfits, I've always told like a story, which I feel like I do a great job showing that. And I think that's why I'm here where I'm at, just because I really take fashion seriously. I have so many clothes and so many shoes, which I'm super grateful because that's like part of the job. And yeah, I'm really proud to have the style that I have because it represents my culture, it represents me, and I know I'm not the only one that has a similar background to me because it's more than just me. I'm like, you know, it's way bigger than all of this, if that makes sense.
And how did your parents support your venture into like wanting to explore with your style? Your parents, you mentioned, are from Zacatecas, and I think honestly this is like a pretty ignorant question, I would say, because I think that LA has a very specific style of clothing. And are your parents immigrant?
Yes.
So your parents are immigrant, and then coming into like this space, and you obviously are influenced by all of it. But how did your parents react or respond to like you exploring different ways of dressing?
Honestly, my mom, she always has the stories.
And I'm sorry, but I need to provide this context because I literally, in my brain, it's like I read an interview that you did for, I think, Remezcla, and you said that you like like taking from like playing with gender and like
Yeah.
more male clothes and like more feminine clothes. So I think maybe that's where the question is coming from.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. I love that I messed that interview and the whole video was really cute. But yeah, absolutely. So for my style, I also really love to mix in masculine clothing, feminine clothing. What does that mean? Gender is made up, but like it is what it is right now in the society. So for me, I feel like I said, my style always tells like a story, always says something, right? And for me, I feel like I am someone who has both masculine and feminine traits, and I'm kind of both meshed in. Sometimes I want to be more masculine, I want to wear super baggy stuff. Sometimes I want to be super feminine, hyper feminine, just wear super tight things. But then, as of recently, I found the beauty of combining those two, and I haven't felt as home as I started doing that, right? So I felt so like, wait, this is my style. Now I feel like marrying the two is such a, it's me. Like I am masculine, I'm also very feminine, I'm also very queer. So also like, how can I say that in what I'm wearing? And for me, my parents have always been my biggest fan. At least my mom. Like my dad, he kind of like giggles. He's like, oh, you're so crazy. But like he enjoys it because he sees that I'm happy. And my mom, oh my God, my mom, when she actually came here, she used to tell me that she used to model.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's like, yeah, people used to give me clothes too. And I was like, okay, baddie, OG influencer. And since forever, I just remember growing up with like photos of like my mom like taking like modeling in like some really cute like Selena style clothing. So we grew up kind of like that, where it's just like it's okay to be a baddie, like it's okay to dress up, like dressing up is important. My mom's always like, don't ever look polonga when you go outside. Like you want to look good because you're representing yourself. And I guess that's kind of where it started. So now when I dress up, like she loves it. She's just like, what are you wearing today? Can I see? Or sometimes like, Mom, come to my room. Like, what do you like this? And she's like, wow, you look great. Or sometimes she'll just be like, I would never choose that, but okay. Yeah. Okay, she's like, okay. Sometimes I know I'd be dressing out there. So sometimes she's just like, oh, okay. But it's never like negative. And it's so funny. I recently bought some Comme des Garçons Nike shoes, which it's a brand, like a luxury brand, and they did a collab with Nike. And the collab was actually for their Nike soccer shoes. So it was basically a soccer shoe with like a heel with a little tacon. And when I showed them to my parents, I was so excited, you know, like I wanted these shoes forever. But when they first came out, they were like 700, almost like $1,000. And I was like, I'm not there yet. I was like, I'm not gonna do that right now. So I had to wait. I got them during the pandemic, and I think they were like 300, 200. I was like, I could do this. I was like, this is
an investment.
It's an investment, right? And when they came in the mail, I was so excited. I was like, Mom, Dad, like, les quiero enseñar mis nuevos zapatitos. And they're like, okay. And they opened it, and my dad started like laughing because they're literally soccer shoes with like a heel. But then afterwards, he was like, they're really cute though. And my mom said, she's like, wait, these are so cute. And every time I wear them, they're always like, ¿Dónde están tus zapatitos de fútbol? So I feel like when it comes to fashion, my family and my parents, they've been always supportive, and they know that I'm a little like kooky and crazy. So they're like, okay, that's a Jenn outfit. Oh, okay, like.
Yeah, but you know, it's so interesting how like your outfit like reflects so much of who you are, right? And like also your surroundings, because I remember a little bit unrelated, but a little bit related. When I was in high school, I remember I would only use like baggy stuff, and my mom would literally tell me, "Mira, vístete más sexy," and I was like, "Why is my mom telling me this?" Yeah, Mom. But I remember that like I would intentionally wear those type of clothing because I was just so insecure about my body, and I was like, no, like why is my mom even telling me that, you know? But I think that from my mom, it was like, like show a little bit more confidence in like what you're wearing. And my mom is a fashion designer, so I don't know, maybe she also saw that something wasn't quite fitting. I'm dead. But no, this is pretty incredible. And so I would love also for you to talk about when you started influencing us.
It's so funny. It's funny that you bring up like baggy clothes and stuff, because I feel like I kind of stopped dressing for the male gaze, and the more I entered into my queerness, the more I kind of entered to myself, and the more I kind of really sat with myself and like, who am I dressing for? Because there was a time where I was dressing like very, not to say that it's a bad thing, but I was just dressing in really tight clothing or things that were like trendy, but I would feel so uncomfortable wearing. But that's because I wanted to kind of fit in, or I wanted like approval of like other people. And I think my style started to really like pop off once I stopped caring about whether people look at me, or even stop the male gaze type of stuff. That's when I started wearing more baggier stuff. And I love to wear, I'm really small, like 5 feet, so I love to wear super boxy, super big things, and like maybe slick back my hair, do my makeup, and wear like crazy earrings and crazy shoes, because it's fun. It's so much material, so much like textures all over you, but it feels cool. I feel like, I don't know, like I'm dressing myself kind of like a Christmas tree, but like it's so cute. Like I'm gonna still slay that. But obviously I still love to obviously like wear like tighter things, but now it's on my time.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, and I think honestly, I think that like for me, when it was kind of like a process of feeling confident.
I agree.
And because I literally think about what clothes do I love wearing, and that I feel like in how I envision how I want to look, will I look that way?
Yeah.
But I think that was a whole process, like in college, like
I agree.
really trying to cement the confidence before I started like wearing different things, because I think that before I used to dress just thinking like, oh my gosh, like maybe this is cool, but I want to be as baggy because I don't like my body, and maybe and like obviously like this huge body does more feel like me thinking that I had like this body, when in reality I did not have the body that in my mind I had.
But that is so, unfortunately, so normal for young people to have. Men, women, everybody like has that, unfortunately, which is really sucks. Not everybody, but like the majority.
Yeah.
And it's really sad.
Yeah, and it's sad, but I think that sometimes like we don't even realize that it's that we can like solve it, you know? Because I think that my process of getting a feeling confident was an interesting thing, because I started like exercising out of hate for my body, and it wasn't until I was like where I felt like I was super fit that I was like, okay, maybe now I like what I'm seeing, but it didn't start in a very healthy way, you know, because then you go to extremes, and then I was eating very healthy, but like unhealthily. I know
exactly what you mean. You're not the only one, and it's just very like, because I've also had friends too, and I have like a few close people in my life that have also been going through that, and it's just so like, it's hard. I myself also went through that too, where I was like, I hate my body, so I'm gonna start whatever, but then it never kind of leaves. You just kind of have to like accept it, but it's hard. Yeah, it's a process. It's a process. It's a journey. But love your body, love yourself, because honestly, that is what's gonna translate outside. And I realized that once I was getting into styling, like the more confident I am, the less the outfit's gonna look stupid. But sometimes it's kind of, I always say this, like you always want to wear the outfit, you never want the outfit to wear you, because that was a big thing, because you could kind of tell like, oh, like that is like I feel so like out of my body right now, like this is not comfortable, and it shows.
No, definitely. I'm like, you are definitely someone who wears the outfit, because I literally am like, I see your style, and when I think of you, you know, it's like, oh my gosh, that is like so her. But okay, let's go back to your first maybe opportunity that you got. How did you even get that first opportunity, paid opportunity as a content creator?
As a content creator, so who was my first? It wasn't paid though, like my first fashion one, because when you begin, you kind of don't really get paid. And I remember it was for PacSun. If it was just clothing wise, it was for PacSun. They sent me some Essentials sweatpants. Essentials is a brand that I believe, I forgot who his name is, but he's a famous like designer. And they sent me some clothes. I had to take photos, and I actually took photos with like one of my friends, and they loved it. PacSun would like use it all over their socials, which was really, really cute. But now as I'm older, I'm like, oh, I should have like charged, like, hey. But when you're starting, you're just so happy to be there, which is not bad. Like, I'm very happy and very fortunate that I was able to get that opportunity. When it comes to modeling, my first job was with Bella Dona. And that one, honestly, I feel like that one was more life-changing, because it was the first time any brand was like, hey, like, we love you, we love like your style, we love what you represent, we love your look, you're brown, you have curly hair, you're from the hood, like you're perfect for our brand. And
you know, I need to stop you because I think it's so funny. I was like, when you said Paxson, I was like, I don't remember this being the answer, like in the first episode.
I know, you're so funny. No, yeah, so my first for modeling stuff was Bella Dona, and then for creative stuff where it was like fashion, it was just me, was for Paxson. And it was, I think it wasn't the same year. I think Bella Dona came first, and then Paxson was like the year after. But yeah, I started with Bella Dona, they hit me up, and it was kind of the whole validation that like I needed. I just needed someone that had a bigger vision, I feel like, to just be like, hey, like, you got this, you could do this. Because at that time, all the content creators or fashion influencers, they weren't like me. They weren't hood, they weren't brown, like, they weren't like a mix of whatever. And Bella Dona, they've always been true to themselves. Since the beginning, Bella Dona has always been like, we're from the hood, like hood magic, like big hoops, like things very Cali, very LA. And that was kind of like my green light of like, oh, I could do this. And if one person could see it, then I could see it in myself. And that's kind of where it started. I just had the audacity to do it. And I just had to show up, though. I think that's the biggest thing, that I always have to show up for myself each and every day.
And what okay, I'm like thinking, how do you think they saw that of you? Like, were you posting pictures? Were you networking? Like, what prompted to that?
Oh my god, it was very organic. Bella Dona does this a lot with their models. So if you ever want to model for Bella Dona, maybe this could help y'all. Also, just go to their events and meet them, and they'll be like, oh, we'll love you. Let's do something. So it all started with, do you remember the festival Tropicalia? No. So there was a festival, I forgot, like in the like 2016, 2017, I believe. And it was,
I was very new to LA at that time.
Oh, okay. No worries. So there was a festival called Tropicalia. Kali Uchis would perform, Evie Queen performed, like kind of that kind of vibe. And I think that one of the years that I went, Bella Dona was having something with Chulita Vinyl Club. And Bella Dona had like a booth. And at that time, I was in college. And I was already following Bella Dona. And I really loved what they were doing. And it was just really cool. And I was like, oh, I'm going to go see their booth. And I'm going to buy something from them. Because I could finally like afford it being a broke college kid. I was like, I'm going to buy one of the shirts. And I remember I bought the Brown and Proud halter top. And then I took it back to school. And actually one of my friends was taking a photography class. And they were like, can I shoot you? And I'm like, why not? Like, I was already taking photos at this time. I was already very comfortable, like, in front of the camera. And I was like, okay, I'm down. I did my makeup. I had my slick back bun. I had, like, my dark matte red lipstick. I had my eyeliner. And I put the Brown and Proud shirt. And then we took the photos. The photos are honestly still one of my favorites. Even though I'm very young and very green, they're very cute. I like them a lot. And I tagged Bella Dona, and literally, I think the day after, they DM'd me. They're like, hey, like, we love your style. We saw your page. Like, would you want to model for us? And I was like, I'm so down. And this was during my senior year of college. And they asked me to model for their Valentine's Day shoot, which was with my homegirl. They're like, oh, bring one of your friends. So I brought one of my friends. And yeah, we shot with them for Valentine's Day, and ever since then I've like worked with them. I've grown up with them, which has been very like sweet. And Lala has been like a mentor to me throughout this time, because she's seen my growth too, and she's just like, okay.
Lala is the owner.
Like Lala is the owner. And it's so funny because I used to watch MTV3, which was like the MTV for like Latinos, I feel like. And at that time, she had like her song, like Homegirls, and I grew up watching her music videos, and to even think to like I was gonna work with her one day very closely, like to have her phone number, to be able to like hang out with her. I was like, oh, this is so cool.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh, that's so nice. It's so nice to be able to like see someone that you admire, and then them being people that are close to you. Like, I feel like working in the entertainment industry, I've been at events where I'm like, oh my gosh, you were an actor for Alebrijes y Rebujos when I was like growing up, and now it's something.
Do you know that they're gonna come out with a new one, Alebrijes y Rebujos? That's why I saw on TikTok. I saw that they took a photo together, which was like Achofas and right? And so, what was her name?
Sophia, I think, was like the main girl. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So I saw something recently. They're gonna redo something, but I don't know.
Well, we're gonna do our research. Oh, okay. Let's pause a little bit. We're going to do a quick small break, but we will be back to the rest of your incredible career.
If you're a business owner and would like to promote your brand with our community, hit us up on our email at laartisteadapodcast@gmail.com. And thank you everybody so much for listening. Make sure to subscribe and connect with us on social media. We would love to hear from you. And now, back to the chit chat.
And we are back. Okay, so let's get to it. So you talked about your first opportunity. Honestly, I'm wondering how has Lala been a mentor to you? I feel like sometimes it's so hard to find like a mentor in creative industries, and to me specifically, I'm like I have Carla Santiago. We all know her. I love this woman. And I always tell people, oh, she's my mentor. But I've never like asked her, do you want to be my mentor?
Me too.
Oh! I literally, she's like the person that if I have a question, I'm like, Carla, what do I do? So is this the type of relationship that you have?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's very like informal. She doesn't really know that I'm a mentor. She's probably gonna listen to this and be like, it's like asking your madrina to be like, and I'm like, oh, it's you. But same. I sometimes ask her questions, or it's usually when I go over their office, and their office is like actually like around here, where we just kind of catch up. It sounds more like a chisme discussion, but we're actually like doing like work. Like I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes I come over and like we talk, and she's like, "What have you been up to?" She gives me advice, and then
And is it advice? And I'm being super nosy.
Yeah.
Is it advice in terms of your career, or is advice like strategizing your next steps, or seeing how you've done specifically in your career? Like what are the type of conversations that you have?
So the type of conversation.
And I'm asking because I'm so sorry for interrupting you, but I'm asking because I'm like, a career as a content creator, I think people don't really know what is the route to follow. So I'm wondering, what are the conversations that you're having with someone who's guiding you?
Yeah, well, when it comes to content creation, I think one of the biggest things you have to remember is that everybody's journey is so completely different. You could go so many different routes. Also, there's an audience for everything and anyone. So just keep that in mind. And for me, when I talk to Law, or also like my other friends too that have brands or things like that, sometimes when I come over their offices, we kind of have like, we chit chat and stuff like that. A lot of it is about, at least with Law specifically, she gives me advice like, okay, I think you should do this more. And for me, I'm trying to get more comfortable with like speaking and like do it like literally making videos where I'm talking to the camera. Sometimes I get so nervous, like I feel like I like trip on my words. Sometimes I don't say things correctly. And Law's like, no, like people want more of that. Like you should really get into that. And so I took her advice and I started doing more like vlogging where I'm like talking, or at least like it's a voiceover under like my videos and stuff. And it's been doing really good. And I was like,
like they're good. I've watched them. I've watched them, and I think that you have this incredible talent of literally making people feel like we're best friends. As I'm like watching, like, oh my gosh, like I know her, and I think that I felt that way even before like we met, or even before I interviewed, and I think that that's an incredible quality of yours as a content creator.
I think that's like my cancer, because I want everyone to be okay. I want everyone to like be accepted. I want everyone to feel safe. So I think that's very cancer of me, and I appreciate that.
Okay, so then going back, you had your first that first opportunity. How the new opportunities kept coming up?
Honestly, after the whole Bella Dona thing, it wasn't like I started getting brand deals like right away. It took me a while, because obviously at that time I didn't have like so many followers, and the whole social media world is not what it is today. So I had to like, obviously I worked a 9-to-5 job. I was a sexual health educator for LUSD middle schools and high schools, and I did that for like 2 years. And I saw, because I had to like obviously like financially like help myself. However, working at a nonprofit, I appreciate and I have so much love for people that work at nonprofits, because they put in so much work. Like they talk about flexibility, like they're flexible, like they're doing like jobs of like 5 people. And I found myself just really burning out. And I was really young. I think I was like in my early 20s, where I was just kind of like, I'm burning out this fast. Like, this is not the job I should be in. However, I love the work that I did, because I love working with young people. I love like having these conversations that might be taboo, but they're so important, right? It's preventative health, and like we need that in like my communities I grew up with. But I was burning out so fast, and I found myself creating more to self-preserve, and then my job started getting in the middle of content creation, and then things just started. I had to do something. I had to pick a choice, and when we got into then the pandemic happened. Total switch. Footlocker, Nike Women hit me up and were like, hey, we want to interview you. We're doing this whole new women collective, sneaker collective, and we want you to be one of our creators that are going to be creating for us for X, Y. I think we were only created for like 9 months. And you'll be working with Nike, Nike Women, Footlocker LA, Footlocker Women, and Jordan. And I was like, I'm so down. I did the interview, I crushed it, I was a part of it, and then that's when I couldn't really balance the two. And I was already kind of falling out of love with my nonprofit job, and I was like, hey, like, I put in my 2 weeks, like, I can't do this anymore. It was like a breakup, it was crazy. Yeah. And for me, I feel like, as a Cancer, I'm very sensitive, because I never want to disappoint people, and I feel like I was like, letting a lot of people down. How am I going to tell my parents that I'm a full-time content creator? Like, how is that going to look like? Can I sustain it? What if I flop? Like, but something in me was like, look, like, you can do both, and you really need to choose for yourself. And for me, I was like, okay, if I bet on myself, I know, like, once I don't have any like support system or anything like that, like, I'm gonna have to go full throttle. And I know that once I have pressure, I'll be fine. Like, I could do this. And yeah, kind of like the little engine that could, like, I could do this. I quit my job at the nonprofit. Still have so much love for that job. It just wasn't for me. It just wasn't my journey. And then I went full on content creator. And at that time, it wasn't like, also I didn't have like the biggest following ever, but I started to build networks and relationships with these brands. Like, I started to, become friends with people that work at Footlocker, or like I started to show like what I can do for these brands. And then so I did that whole.
And what was the type of job that you were doing? Like, in your day, what was the type of content that you were making for these brands?
Yeah, so our collective was called The Rec Room, and we were doing basically like campaigns for shoes, right? So every month or every week or every month, we would get assigned, like, okay, you guys, these are the new shoes that are dropping for Footlocker, Nike Women, make content. You guys have to tell us, you guys have to tell us what you guys are gonna do, and like try to execute that. At that time, it was perfect practice. I think it was a boot camp, because that was the first time I ever saw what a deck is, which is basically what a brand will email you, like, hey, this is the type of deliverables that we want from you, and it should look like this. Experience, because I learned what a deck is. I know what deliverables are. I know how to produce campaigns. So I had a lot of like I learned how to become a creative director. I learned how to be a stylist. I learned how to be a producer. I learned so many like different things to create a piece of content for a brand. And what do brands are looking for, And
you were doing these things for yourself?
For myself, okay. Yeah. And obviously we did have a team. Like, we had a in-house producer, and we had like a PA that was on set, which were very, really fun. It was a fun time. Like, it was really, really fun. Like, I feel like and it was during COVID, so it was an interesting time, but it was fun. And we did that for about 9 months.
I was like, whoa!
I was still doing it right now. No, we did it for 9 months. It felt like 9 years. I'm just kidding. We did it for 9 months, and it was really fun. And then after that ended, I was like, oh, now what? And that's when I started getting a little bit nervous, because I was like, what can I do? And I remember the year after Rec Room, I was kind of like by myself. I was like, it made me like sit with myself and be like, what is Jenn from the block? What is your next move? What are you doing? And I kind of I did everything. So kind of like I said, like, I learned how to be a producer, stylist, things like that. I actually met my girlfriend during that time, during Rec Room. And afterwards, she's a director and a photographer, so she had her own projects, and she's like, you're so talented, like, just help me with these projects. And we would help each other during that time. I think for like a year, I was a producer, a stylist, a PA, But then I realized that those are amazing jobs, but I like to be in front of the camera. So I was like, I'm not gonna put in so much effort into these jobs, and I was like, you can't do that. So I'd rather just not do the job. And so then that's when I started to really, really hone in on like making my own content. How does that look like? Because I was so used to making content for other brands. What does Jenn from the block? Well, who am I? You know. So I did a lot of soul searching during that like transition, and then here we are.
Yeah. Wow.
Here we are.
there's so much story. So I'm honestly wondering like what qualities from the content that you were producing before, like what were the qualities that you feel helped you land that Footlocker opportunity? Because I feel like sometimes a lot of people who are starting their careers, it's like, how do I take this to that next level, or how do I find those opportunities? And I think people don't talk about it. You know, it's just like, oh, these people are doing amazing, and
how did she?
Yeah,
it's really like hard to put in words because I feel like before the Footlocker stuff, I was still, like I said, I was working a 9-to-5 job, but I was like modeling as well. So Bella Dona, I think a lot of it was because a lot of people saw me because of Bella Dona, and they would put me on their feed. I would make content for them, or I would be shooting e-commerce for them. And look, I honestly feel like Bella Dona was the one that put me on, or is the person that put me on, because a lot of brands are also watching them. So, and sin querer queriendo, because I was like, I'm having so much fun. I'm like, photo shoot day, ooh, fun. I never really thought of it that way, of like, oh, I'm gonna get like,
this is a strategy for that next step.
It really just happened very like organically. And I think a lot of it happened because of Bella Dona. And they're like, oh, you're one of the Bella Dona girls. And I was like, yeah, I guess I am. So, you know, and Bella Dona has done such a great job in putting other girls also. Models, stylists, makeup artists, photographers. Like Bella Dona has been such an amazing part of our community to amplify like women like us. And that's always been like their like MO, right? Like, we're gonna uplift each other, sisterhood. We're really dope, and we're just gonna, you know, help each other out. And it's all because of Bella Dona. I feel like yes,
you're like, that is the person to go to. So you talked about working with your girlfriend. I would love to talk about that. I would love to talk about working with another artist, because being in a relationship with an artist and then working with them. Do you always share, or like in that time when you were working together, did you always share the same creative vision?
No and yes. I think when we would work together, she sees things in such a different way, which I think it's so beautiful, and I learned so much from her. And for me too, I bring something completely different, right? Because she's also like 5 years older than me, so I feel like it's a generational wise, like we view things we've experienced life very differently. Also, I'm more on like TikTok and stuff like that, and she is work, okay? She is like, I'm handling business, but I'm over there like watching like what's trending, like what's going on. So for sure, like when we work on projects, sometimes we have completely different like outcomes of things, but it works out. Yeah. And you know what's interesting? I feel like I've heard some people say like, oh, I would never work with someone who be in a relationship with someone who is in like the same industry. Wait, you agree? I agree. Some people like. No, I agree. Like, I know it's just not for everybody, and I completely like agree, because over here I love chisme and stuff. Like, think about it. Like, a lot of actors, they don't really last that long because they're in the same field. And me and my partner, we're in the same field, but we're also very different. She's a director. She's a photographer. I'm more like in the front of the camera, if that makes sense. Because I feel like we're both directors. I feel like that might be kind of hard, you know. But like we're in the same industry, but just different jobs. We're same industry, different jobs, and I think that's what makes it so much easier. And I think what is like a very pro to it is, I feel like the entertainment industry, like whatever part you're at, if you're in digital, if you're in television, if you're in like even games, like they function so like different from traditional routes. So just like that understanding of what your job is, you know, what her job is too, or like the type of travel that involves like these types of creative things. So it's
so interesting. I was like, oh my gosh, let's talk about that.
No, yeah, I'm always down. Yeah, people always want to like know about it, and like me and my girlfriend, we love each other very much. And just like any relationship, like we have our ups and we have our downs, and like we've grown a lot. I think when it comes to like, at least like in the working, like I'm open to talk about more like working stuff. Like when it comes to like working, we learned a lot from each other of how to communicate as like business partners, right? And at the end of the day, like we just want the best for each other. So it's not like our conversations come from a bad place. So she has ideas and I'm like, I don't know. Or sometimes I have ideas, she's like, I don't know. And then we give it a try. We try to like come together, come to like an agreement, and it comes out so amazing. You know?
Yeah, you worked together on that one Footlocker video. No, that it was like in a park with a couple of people. Did you create and direct that?
Yes, and that was for Latinx Heritage Month, and that's when I actually met her.
Oh,
but we were homegirls, we were friends back then, and we didn't like. Yeah, it was so funny.
Well, I love that. I'm just thinking about it because I genuinely loved that commercial that you worked on,
and that was my first time working with her. So we basically hired her to DP that, and me and this other girl, we were the creative directors for it, and she did an amazing job. And I was like, oh, she's really dope, because at that time I never really seen a lot of people do video, or at least a lot of women do video, and it was just really cool to see her in her own element, because when it comes to like Encrypt, like she loves what she does, and it's when she's on set, like you could tell like this girl loves what she does. She's happy to be on set,
and we're hearing that in 2 episodes before this.
I heard her. You already know.
Yeah, no, but yeah, it's like it's super interesting to see two creatives working together, and also because I think sometimes having conversations about things that you are not liking can be very hard. And I think in any relationship, right? Not just like in a romantic relationship, but just in any relationship, because communicating that is like, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but I know that you produced it, so like, well, how can this message be delivered in a way that doesn't hurt you?
I agree. Sometimes those conversations could be very awkward, and they could be very like, but just like I said before, we always have to come back to the fact that like we're doing this because we love each other, and we're doing this because we also have love for the art. And then we're like, oh, we're just two artists. Okay, let's come back. And then we're like, okay, maybe we could find something in the middle. Or sometimes I'm like, you know what? Like, I trust you. Go for it. Like, I'm chilling. Or sometimes she's like, you know what? Like, let's do your idea. I feel like I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like a feeling.
No, yeah.
It's like a feeling. We vibes.
You sense the room. You sense the vibes in the room, and you go for whatever's calling you.
And she's a Pisces. I'm a Cancer, so we're both water signs. So we're both very emotional. So vibes and like how we're feeling, we're like, okay, cool. It really go. It's
Well, I love that. You know, feelings are very important. So I'm glad that's at the forefront. And I want to talk about your Garnier, like the two things I mentioned, your Garnier campaign, that's like an international thing, and then also you represented Adidas in Coachella. But let's talk first about Garnier. How did that happen? How did you get that opportunity?
So I've been working with Garnier Fructis for about, when did they hit me up? About a year now, actually. Or no, not even. Yeah, we celebrated. I have it in my calendar. I celebrated anniversary working with them. So I've been working with them for like almost a year. They hit me up, and I remember they hit me up in November of 2022, and I was like, this is a scam. And sometimes when you're a content creator, or you get these like crazy emails, they're like, Loewe wants to work with you, or like, you know, sometimes they're all scams. Like you can kind of tell. But this one was like a legit email. It was like, oh, they're for real. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? And I remember the email read like, we want to take you to Mexico City. We want to shoot this with you and all that. And I was just like, this is too good to be true. Like, this is what I've been like wishing to have. Like, this is what I've been wishing for. Manifesting all of that. And yeah, I signed like my contract with Garnier for that project. And they flew me out to Mexico City, and it was such a beautiful experience because the people that I worked with Garnier, they're amazing. The person who actually reached out to me, she's actually this Latina from the Valley, and she does a lot of like PR and she does marketing, and she was like, I saw your page and I was like, we need to have you. And at that time, I also didn't have a lot of followers either. And it's Garnier, right? So this is like a global brand. They could pick out any other like Latina person that has like millions of followers, but they chose me. And at first, I was like, oh my god, like, is this fake? And yeah, she reached out to me. She's like, we really would love to have you. Like, you're just you just fit. You're exactly what we want. And they found me through like Instagram. And so I should ask her, like, how did you actually like find me? And I have a feeling it's through Bella Dona too. I have a feeling because I think she also follows like Law and all of them. But yeah, like I've been working with them. We went to Mexico City. We shot a whole commercial. So it was like a brand trip and a commercial. And I met all other like content creators who I'm such a fan of. Like I was kind of fangirling. I was like, okay, you gotta be cool. You gotta be cool. You gotta be cool. And yeah, I think that relationship with Garnier really like elevated me and boosted me. But I think in a more personal level where I was like, oh, I could do this. Like I'm good for this. And I felt like it was the validation that I also needed to be like, okay, the price just went up. And also like that just means I really have to elevate myself. And also I really need to make sure that later in the future I bring this back to people. And how can I bring it back to like my community? But yeah, I've been working with Garnier since, and it's been amazing. I also did a Latinx Heritage Month piece with Garnier with my mom. They flew me and my mom out to New York in August, and that was really beautiful. And the month before that, they invited me to be on their like NYC Pride. I was in one of their floats.
Oh, wow.
That one was crazy. Yeah.
I'm just shocked, to be honest, by the fact that you said that like you felt validated by Garnier, having worked with like such huge brands before, you know. And I think that sometimes we don't realize like the big steps that have moved us forward. Yeah. But I'm glad that like you felt that validation. But I'm like, wow, with a trajectory like yours, it was totally small. You know,
I know.
It's shocking.
I totally like agree. I think what a lot of it comes down to is like imposter syndrome, because you're just like, you know. And I want to get to a point where like I don't need nobody's validations but myself, because essentially that's what it should be. Like I have my validation. I know I'm it. Like I know I'm that girl. But at least at that time in my career, like it was like, oh damn, like I'm cool. Like I made it kind of moment. But yeah.
And okay, and I'm wondering now that we're like kind of like getting closer to the end, I really want to know what's your perspective right now on the like stage of social media. Like where do you think social media is going for people who may want to pursue being an influencer? But I know that your start will not be people's start right now. It's like such a different setting right now. So
yeah, when it comes to social media is consistently changing. Literally, I feel like it changes like within weeks. But I honestly feel like there's more of a move towards like more like authenticity and more of like showing like yourself, like your raw self, less produced stuff, which is something that I'm focusing more of. Sometimes I don't really like to show people like the nitty-gritty of like my life, and I think that's what's been kind of holding me back. And I think that's where social media is going, like more authenticity. We want to see vlogs, we want to see like what you're really doing. I think that's, if you really want to get into content creation or whatever, like show yourself, but authentically, like show yourself.
And it's interesting because I feel like I hear this a lot with podcasts. Yeah. And like, oh, everybody's making a podcast. Like, and I think that comes also with influencers, you know, like I feel like people.
Who cares?
Yeah, like some people like say like, oh, there's like so many influencers, and I'm like, man, let people be.
Yeah, no, literally, who cares? I feel like the reason so it's so funny because recently I feel like I'm very sensitive. So sensitive, I feel like I've been getting more and more like backhanded compliments of like in my job as an influencer and things like that. Or people like, oh, I could never do that. I was like, okay, then don't do it. Like it's not for you. Like I don't know what to tell you. But the fact that there's more and more influencers, yes, that means that the market might be more like competitive, but like every place is competitive, right?
And I think it's growing, you know, because like when it started, like it was like 3 influencers who used to like post, because I remember like back in the day the influencers that were like growing were people who had like huge houses and like showing like all these very like unattainable unrealistic things, and how it's changed to like so many different diverse people.
Now you want to see people that you resonate with, that literally grew up with you, or like things like that. And I think the fact that we have so many influencers, so many content creators, so many models, like that's the reason why we're here, right? We're breaking barriers. There's more of us. It kind of gives a little bit like racism, because sometimes it's just like we don't want like POC, or like we don't want like people here, but it's very gatekeeping too. Like I love that there's more of us, because that's literally the whole point. And people should be getting paid too, so make sure y'all are getting paid.
Yeah. And like what's your advice, I guess, for like people who are starting out? Like what would you tell someone who like is probably a fashion influencer or like a fashion beauty content creator, but also like a content creator who maybe just wants to share anything about themselves?
Yeah, keep going. I think there's like some days your video might flop. Who cares? Keep going. Do not beat yourself up. You have to really be like your biggest cheerleader. Like you really have to be very secure of the fact that like I am that girl, and like I'm capable of doing like whatever you want to do, right? So keep posting, be very consistent. Networking is very, very important. I don't have a manager or anything like that, and I think the biggest reason why I've been getting these opportunities is because of how I network, or like how I know how to like sign an email correctly. Invoices are very important. Like all of that, like not fabulous stuff of content creation, like people really need to like.
When you network, what is your action item?
What do you mean?
Like when you meet someone.
Oh, I was like, oh,
sorry.
So professional. Like, hi.
Sorry, it's just like
you're so business. I am. You're such a
even like in the way that I'm saying, like I'm not a person who's like too
over him this like.
I don't know. It's okay, but what's your action item? I mean, when you meet someone, I feel like sometimes people don't know what to do with that. What do you do with that relationship?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, I met this. And I say this because, I was like I guess in my third position of priorities, I like to like do modeling stuff every once in a while.
You should do more.
But thank you. But I honestly, I'm completely honest. It's so hard sometimes for me to be like, I don't want to ask a photographer to take pictures of me because that's their job. Like I don't want to ask them to do something for me, like how do you activate those relationships once you start meeting people for the thing that you want to be doing?
Honestly, I totally agree, and I totally understand what you're feeling of like I don't want to ask people, but like you're not going to grow if you don't ask. And for me, I learned that actually from Encrypt, because I was in the same way. I was like, I want to work with this photographer, but what if they say no? What if they think I'm corny? What if they think I'm like using them? But you also have to realize that it's part of our like creative like ecosystem, right? A photographer needs a model. They need a subject just like a model needs a photographer. Hey, are you down to collab? Or like, hey, like I have this really great idea. I'm such a big fan of your work. Like I could cover makeup, hair, and styling, and would you be down to cover whatever? Or like stuff like that. I think a lot of people also assume when it comes to like photography that like we're just gonna like shoot or whatever, but if you want to have makeup, hair, and stuff like that, put in your money, save your money. That's how I feel like photographers and other creatives are gonna take you seriously, because you're like, oh, I already have makeup, I have styling covered, I could already know a studio, I already have that rented out, and then I think more photographers would feel more comfortable in doing that. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And it feels less like
I'm asking for something.
Yeah, you're like, hey, I already have it ready, but I love your work, like can we work on something? But I could cover this, because obviously photographers, they're gonna take the photos, they're gonna edit it for you, and like it's still like a lot, it's like a big job. Or it is a big job. But yeah, I think when it comes to photography and modeling, like that's kind of I feel like the best way to go about it, at least for me, and that's how it's worked.
Thank you.
And sometimes I feel that I feel like also friendships too. I had this like I did a career week panel with Britt, our friend, our photographer friend, and she has such a cute answer. She basically said, she's like, honestly, when it comes to networking, like I don't know, I just love making friends, and a lot of it comes down to that. Like I love to make friends. I'm like, hey, what are you up to? Like what's your deal? Do we align? Like, okay, cool. Like you're really cool. Like let's do something. Or sometimes it comes just out very natural of just like making friends.
Yeah, and I think I like to think I'm good at networking, but in terms of my, like, for the podcast, like, bringing people, I love doing this. and also at my like day job in television, I'm like, okay, like I can see how I can network and bring people in and put people together. But I think sometimes it's really hard when you feel like you're asking for something, you know. But I think the way that you mentioned it, and like, you know, investing and also making the other person, ensuring the other person that you're also putting in something that's going to benefit them too. I think that that's essentially what you were saying.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was saying. Now, like when it comes to photography and modeling and stuff, like try to bring in a project maybe like 65% done, and then the collaboration and like the creative direction, like you and the photographer work.
Yeah,
and that's what I usually do with any other person that I collab with. It's like, okay, I have this idea. Okay, let me know. Like I could cover this. Can you cover this? It's like a give and take. And I feel like it feels less transactional and more of like a labor of love, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it definitely does.
Yeah.
And okay, so now, what are some like brands or things that you're like, that's where I want to go? That's like the place that I want to be in.
Oof, I don't know. I've gotten this question a lot, and I feel that like I've been running so much, and I've been like creating content. So I have like a lot of brand deals to shoot, which I'm very excited, very grateful for. That I feel like I haven't really slowed down and catch the breath of like, okay, what's next? And I know I'm gonna have to sit with myself in the next few weeks of like, okay, like what's the next move? Like what am I trying to do? And I think right now I'm really trying to figure that out. And I'm being quite honest with you. I think right now I'm really trying to say like, what's the next step? What is Jenn from the Block? How can I elevate? Like I said before, I'm gonna get into more vlogging. I do want to work with brands, but I also want to get back to doing more intentional like creative directing work, or even like creative directing my own stuff. Because before I was doing all these brand deals, I was shooting like a photo shoot with like my friends every month, and I miss that now. And I feel like I don't have the time to do more creative work that's for me. So that is the next move for me. I want, not that I want to slow down, I want to just water myself and not get so caught up and so lost in the brand deals, which are amazing and fun, and I'm super, super grateful. It's just the balance. And anybody in the creative world will tell you that. Like it's just the balance of things and finding that balance.
Yeah, because like you're working. Like this is your job, and I think that, you know, that liberty of planning and ideating stuff and bringing it to life is it's like a different space.
Yeah. Oh, and also this is really important that I really want to say is that now that I've built beautiful relationships with brands that I've worked with, like I mentioned before, I want to bring that into like my community. Now that I'm working with Garnier, now that I have a beautiful relationship with Footlocker or Bella Dona, like I really want to find a way where I could bring all those resources to like my community in Watts and Compton. So I'm hoping, my next goal is to do more and more events, because I think I'm really missing my community right now, and I feel like now that I have all of these amazing opportunities, I would love to just bridge the two. And that's always been such a big dream of mine, right? It's like, okay, you're here, now what are you gonna do with it? Like I don't like that feeling, you know? So more events.
Exciting. Well, you send them to us and we'll share them with everyone. I know. Well, thank you so much for this incredible, enlightening conversation. I hope that you enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for everyone who listened. Once again, we really hope that this conversation inspires you to go and change the world. But thank you so much for being here.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of La Artisteada. Make sure to subscribe and connect with us on Instagram and TikTok. It is very important for us to create spaces where people feel inspired through art, and this would not be possible without our incredible team, Erin Jimenez, Estilo Live, and yours truly, Kiara.